It was late afternoon in a small, quiet suburban town somewhere in the Midwest. The sun had begun its slow descent, casting a golden glow across the neatly lined streets. Most families were settling in for the evening, children playing briefly before dinner, neighbors chatting from their porches. But not everything was as peaceful as it seemed. Officer James Thompson was making his routine rounds when a sudden, desperate sound pierced the calm. He turned sharply to see a little girl, no older than 7, sprinting toward him, tears streaming down her face. Her small legs pumped furiously, and she tripped over the curb but quickly scrambled up, her tiny backpack bouncing on her shoulders. "Please, please follow me home," she gasped between sobs. Her voice was trembling, almost breaking, but it carried urgency. Officer Thompson's heart clenched. He radioed for backup while gently urging the girl to slow down. "It's okay, we're coming. Can you show us the way?" She nodded, wiping her cheeks with the back of her hand, and turned sharply down a narrow side street. Officer Thompson and his partner, Officer Maria Delgado, followed, their boots clicking against the asphalt. The neighborhood was usually peaceful, the kind of place where everyone knew each other, but now an eerie quiet seemed to hang in the air. Even the birds seemed to have gone silent. The little girl led them past rows of identical houses, each with perfectly trimmed lawns, finally stopping in front of a modest, single-story home. The front door was wide open, which immediately sent chills down Officer Thompson's spine. He gestured for backup to stay alert. "Stay behind me, ma'am," he said to Officer Delgado, who nodded grimly. The girl's hands trembled as she pointed toward the living room. "Mom, she's not waking up," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Officer Thompson's stomach sank. He had seen emergencies before, but the desperation in her eyes was raw, unfiltered. It wasn't just fear, it was hope clinging to a fragile thread. He stepped cautiously inside, his flashlight cutting through the dim light. Officer Delgado followed, scanning the room. On the couch lay a woman, motionless, a medical alert device nearby. The house was silent, too silent, broken only by the soft sobs of the little girl. Officer Thompson knelt beside the woman, checking her pulse, while Officer Delgado comforted the child, wrapping a protective arm around her small shoulders. The girl clung to her mother's side, whispering words of encouragement, her tiny hands patting the woman's arm. Despite her fear, there was bravery in her actions, an instinctive understanding that help had arrived. Outside, the distant sound of sirens grew louder, backup and paramedics on their way. In that moment, a chilling realization washed over the officers. Sometimes the smallest voices carry the most urgent warnings. And this little girl, running alone through the streets, had done just that. Her courage had not only brought help but could save a life. The wail of sirens grew louder, cutting through the quiet suburban streets. Officer James Thompson remained kneeling beside the woman, carefully checking her pulse and assessing her condition. Relief washed over him when he confirmed she was still alive, though unconscious. He quickly instructed Officer Delgado to stay with the little girl, who clung tightly to her mother's side, sobbing softly. Paramedics arrived moments later, rushing into the living room with their equipment. They moved with practiced efficiency, placing the mother on a stretcher and beginning to monitor her vital signs. The little girl's wide eyes followed every movement, her tiny hands clutching the edge of the stretcher. Officer Delgado knelt beside her, offering calm words. "She's going to be okay. You did the right thing by getting help." The girl's tears were now mixed with relief, though her fear hadn't completely faded. I didn't know what else to do," she whispered. Her voice trembled, but there was a quiet pride in her words. She had acted without hesitation, her instinct guiding her to the right people at the right time. As the paramedics loaded the stretcher into the ambulance, the girl handed them a small, folded note she had written earlier and left on the fridge. It read, "Mom has been feeling sick. Please help. I don't know what to do. Love, Lily." Officer Thompson read the note quickly, a lump forming in his throat. Even at 7 years old, she had thought clearly and acted decisively. Neighbors began to gather outside, drawn by the commotion. Whispers of concern spread through the street, and soon people were offering blankets, tissues, and comforting words. Many were moved by the sight of the little girl standing bravely among the adults, her face streaked with tears but resolute. Officer Thompson gently took her hand. "You were very brave," he said. "Not many kids your age would have done what you did. You saved your mom's life." The girl's lips quivered into a small, shy smile, and she nodded. She didn't fully understand the gravity of the situation, but she knew she had helped. Inside the ambulance, the mother's condition stabilized thanks to the paramedics' quick intervention. They assured the officers that she would recover, and soon, the mother would be awake and able to embrace her daughter again. Outside, the community had a newfound respect for the courage of a child who had acted selflessly. By the time the ambulance drove away, the little girl's story had already begun to spread. In a world often filled with bad news, this small act of bravery reminded everyone that even the youngest among us can make a profound difference. A little girl running through the streets, terrified but determined, had become a symbol of hope and courage. And as she watched the taillights disappear, she held on to one comforting thought: she had saved her mom, and that was enough. The next morning, the sun rose over the quiet suburban street, casting a warm, gentle light across the homes. Inside the little girl's house, the atmosphere had changed completely. The mother, now awake, blinked groggily as she tried to make sense of what had happened. Around her, paramedics and officers had left, but the room still hummed with the quiet relief of survival. Lily, the brave little girl who had run through the streets the previous evening, stayed close. She perched on the edge of the couch, her small hand holding her mother's. "Mom, you're okay," she whispered, her voice filled with wonder and relief. Her mother's eyes filled with tears, and she hugged Lily tightly, overwhelmed by the mixture of fear and gratitude. Officer James Thompson returned later that morning to check on them, bringing along a small card from the local community center. Inside was a note praising Lily's courage, signed by neighbors who had witnessed the event. "You showed more bravery than most adults could manage," the note read. Lily's mother read it aloud through her tears, her voice cracking. She looked at her daughter and said, "You saved my life, sweetheart. You're my hero." Word of Lily's courage quickly spread through the town. Neighbors who had once only waved politely now stopped to offer smiles, kind words, and even small gifts of appreciation. One elderly neighbor left a basket of fresh-baked cookies on the porch, another brought a bouquet of flowers. Everyone wanted to acknowledge the girl who had acted selflessly in the face of fear. Though Lily's mother was still recovering, she was able to walk a little. That morning, supported by her daughter, together, they walked to the front yard, waving to the neighbors who had gathered to check in on them. Lily, usually shy and quiet, now walked tall, her chin lifted proudly. The same little girl who had run frantically through the streets the night before now carried herself with quiet confidence, knowing she had made a difference. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Lily sat on the porch with her mother, recounting the previous night in bits and pieces. "I was scared," she admitted, "but I knew I had to get help." Her mother kissed the top of her head and whispered, "And you did it. You were brave, and you saved me." The words settled in Lily's heart, filling her with warmth and a sense of purpose she had never felt before. In the weeks that followed, Lily became a quiet inspiration to the town. Teachers, neighbors, and even local newspapers highlighted her story. But to Lily and her mother, the recognition was secondary. What mattered most was the bond that had grown even stronger between them, a bond forged in courage, love, and the quiet heroism of a little girl who refused to let fear stop her. In that small suburban town, amidst ordinary houses and everyday life, a child's bravery had reminded everyone that even the smallest acts of courage could leave the deepest mark on the world. And for Lily and her mother, every hug, every smile, every heartbeat was a testament to hope, resilience, and the extraordinary power of a little girl's love.